What's up, guys? This is Snappy J's Thought of the Day. I am, of course, Snappy J, and today I wanted to talk about something that Jeff and I had a conversation this week before we recorded our podcast about downloadable content, and just kind of sometimes it feels weird, I guess, when they add DLC to a game that is story based, like adding extra stories to a game like Mass Effect 3. So they came out with the Citadel DLC for it recently, and I told him that I thought it was kind of weird. I felt weird, like, playing, this extra story on a game that, like, is the end of the trilogy. It's the end of the game, and after you're done and you beat it, you're just like, well, I don't know. For me, it's like, I don't know why I really need to play another story. I feel like his story has kind of been told, and it's done, and it just feels weird to add more onto it, just because they're kind of like retconning it in. It's like, oh, and also this happened in there somewhere, and it's not. I guess, like, for me, it didn't feel weird in the other games, in Mass Effect 1 and 2, when they would add DLC, because it's like, well, this stuff could have taken place in between those games, so in between 1 and 2, and in between 2 and 3. So, there's that extra time that they had there, but when they're just kind of adding it in kind of at random with 3, it just felt like, well, I already finished Shepard's story, and it kind of came to a very definitive end, so what am I gaining from this story, I guess? That just kind of brings up, I guess, DLC in general, because Jeff's counterpoint was that he just felt that it was kind of weird to add story DLC to any game, because it's like, well, I've already finished the game, so what's kind of the point of adding it, extra DLC in there? And, I guess that totally makes sense and everything. But yeah, I mean, I guess when I really think about it, I don't really buy a whole lot of story-based downloadable content in games. Most of the stuff that I've gotten has been map packs for the Halo games specifically, and also for Mass Effect 3, a lot of the multiplayer DLC, which has all been free, thankfully. It's most of the content I'm getting is more kind of supplemental. It kind of bolsters what's already available, and it's not story based, but it's more content based and what's available to you in the multiplayer, as far as weapons and maps and characters and stuff like that. And it just makes more sense to me in that sense, because it's like, okay, you've been playing this multiplayer content for, I don't know, 5 months or so, and like, okay, we're going to give you more content to keep you playing this game, because by this point, if you've been playing regularly, you probably have experienced most of what it has to offer. In the case of Mass Effect 3, there were only so many characters you could unlock. There were only 4 characters in each class, so there were around, I think there's 6 classes, so around 24 characters. So by that point, you had probably unlocked them all. You'd probably seen all of the guns before. Maybe you hadn't unlocked each tier of every weapon, but at that point you'd already experienced the gun and see what it had to offer, and you'd seen all the stages and everything. But at that point you're like, well, I'm done with the game. I don't really need to see anymore. But since they've been adding so much content to it, and so many characters and different maps and weapons and everything, there's so much more there for you to look for, to keep going after and everything, and to experience. And that's the kind of downloadable content that I really love, is just the content that extends the experience, that not really story wise, but more multiplayer centered, because I feel that the more multiplayer centered can last a lot longer than the single player stuff can, because with single player, it's like, okay, we're adding this story to it, and it ends. There's this story, and then you're done. There's a couple of games, or at least one game that I can think of off the top of my head, that I have downloaded story-based content for, which was the first Borderlands game. I haven't got any of the story stuff in Borderlands 2 yet, because I haven't actually finished it. I know, I'm taking forever, I'm sorry. But yeah, and it was really good. I actually really enjoyed it. I guess it extended the experience, but I guess I probably won't go back to it. I've played it through once, and it was a good experience, but I was kind of done with it, I guess, at that point. So I just don't feel like I got as much out of the purchase as I have out of, say, the Halo 3, Halo Reach map packs that I've bought. I played the heck out of those. I played them, for months and months and months, and and the Mass Effect 3 content, which has all been free from the multiplayer, I've gotten so much use out of. That brings me into kind of the next point, I guess, just about Day 1 DLC. So this is a big thing that's kind of come about with this past generation, I guess, with the 360 and the PS3. A lot of games will come out with this Day 1 DLC or pre-order DLC that, hey, if you pre-order my game at GameStop or wherever, we will give you this extra gun or this new skin or this extra character or whatever. Or they'll come out with Day 1 DLC where it's like, hey, here's this extra story. Like Mass Effect 3 had this problem, where there was like another party member for your team and a side mission with that character. And just to me, that's so frustrating because I've already bought this game. You've already created this content for this game that hasn't even released yet, but you're going to release it on the first day, but you have to pay extra money to access this DLC. And that just seems like such like a backhanded move, just like, hey, we just want extra money for this. And this should have probably been, in my opinion, this should have been in the game in the first place. You have this content all ready to go on Day 1. You should either, I understand that there's a point in time where you can't really add anything more to the disc, to the game, because you need to get it ready to be shipped out to stores and sold. So there's only so much you can put on there before you have to get that ready to go and then work on your okay, we have this other story that we want to tell, but we can do that with DLC. And I guess my point is that why don't they just release that DLC that's already ready Day 1 for free, at least for maybe the first month or so of the game's release, so that entices people to actually get the game and you get that DLC for free. At the very least, I think that maybe it should be free for its whole life since it came out right when the game came out, but, that's just me. But, I kind of came from, I've been playing games forever, so I guess when I purchase a game, I expect that game to be full, I expect it to be done, I expect it to be a full experience. And so when you buy a game and you get this, there's this Day 1 DLC that you have to buy and pay extra money for. I just feel like I'm getting gypped off something that should have been in the game in the first place. And it's really frustrating. And I'm really hoping that they kind of shy away from this Day 1 DLC thing. And I doubt that they will, because I'm sure that it's pretty lucrative. People still shell out the money to get it. And I don't think I have bought Day 1 DLC before, but don't quote me on that. Maybe I'm a hypocrite. I don't know. But I try not to. I find it very frustrating to have to pay extra money for that stuff. And DLC is already getting pretty expensive. Some of these map packs for Call of Duty or for Halo or whatever, they're like $10. That's a lot of money for a couple extra maps and everything. That's pretty crazy. But, it's a business and you got to make money. But I just feel like they have kind of an obligation to their consumers as well, but maybe that's a whole different topic for another day. But anyways, I don't know, what do you guys think about DLC in general? What do you think about adding DLC to story-based games? Is that something that you normally buy? Is that something you normally shy away from because you don't feel like you get your money's worth? Let me know. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. But let me know. I want to know what you guys think in the comments below, whatever. Thanks for listening to me ramble and talk on this lovely, cloudy Sunday afternoon. It is a typical Portland day. There's not a lot going on, but, whatever. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys, and I will talk to you later. Keep it snappy. Press end to end.